The rain fell in hard, cold sheets over Buckingham Palace as the nation turned its eyes to a live broadcast that no one had expected and even fewer were prepared. Prince William, dressed in black, his face set like steel, stood before the cameras with a document in his hand, not a speech drafted by courtiers, but the very weapon he had sworn only to wield if the crown itself was dragged to the edge. That edge had come. Meghan Markle's ultimatum, the now infamous HRH or nothing demand, had threatened to rewrite royal history with the ink of intimidation, restore her title, bow an apology, or face the truth she promised to unleash. For weeks the palace had remained silent, the king torn between blood and crown, between the fragile hope of reconciliation and the roaring pressure of public expectation. But William was done waiting. He looked straight into the lens, his voice steady, not raised, but carrying the weight of the verdict. "This is not a time for whispers," he began. "This is a time for truth." And then, with one slow movement, he opened the leather folder that had lain hidden in Windsor's vaults since the death of Queen Elizabeth II. The document, sealed under her personal crest, was read aloud for the first time, a clause forbidding the restoration of HRH titles to any royal who had, in the late Queen's own words, willfully abandoned their sworn duty and sought to profit from the legacy. The world froze. Social feeds erupted in real time as the heir to the throne held up the piece of parchment that shattered Meghan's ultimatum in one stroke. No longer was this a private dispute or a negotiation behind closed doors, it was a declaration before the people, before history, that the crown would not be held hostage. "This is not about punishment," William continued. "This is about the promise my grandmother made to protect this institution from those who would trade it for their own. We honor her will, and through it, we defend the monarchy." Across the Atlantic, Meghan's team, the statement they had prepared, a moving speech about restoration, dignity, and respect, now sounded hollow against the ancient, undeniable words. Her threat of uncontainable truths suddenly felt like the cry of a cornered player, not a righteous campaign. Reports from Montecito described heated calls, lawyers whispering of countermeasures, even the possibility of legal challenges to the will's interpretation. But the damage was done. William had not only rejected her demand, he had exposed its foundation to the harsh light of royal history. King Charles, frail yet present, was said to have watched the broadcast in silence. Some claimed a tear slid down his cheek, not for the institution, but for the son now cast further into exile by a battle that had gone too far to reverse. He had wished for mediation, for a quiet settlement that would let both branches of his fractured family coexist. William had chosen war instead, a war fought not with gossip but with the weight of legacy. The public reaction was instant and ferocious. Crowds gathered outside Windsor, waving the Union Jack, some chanting William's name, others calling for peace. But among the core of royal loyalists, the message was clear: the heir had drawn the line, and in doing so, he had saved the monarchy from. Tabloids roared with headlines: "The will that ends Meghan's war, Queen's final word strikes from the grave." American networks, less forgiving, painted William as the cold enforcer, the prince who silenced his own brother's wife with a dead woman. But inside Britain, the tide had turned. Meghan, once the actress turned duchess turned exile, now faced a narrative slipping from her. No HRH would be restored, not now, not ever, not with the clause read aloud before. Her threat to reveal the truth was still there, still looming, but its power had waned, for in one move, William had framed any future revelations as the bitter cries of someone denied, not the noble stand of someone wronged. Harry, caught between loyalty and love, remained silent, his absence from the scene louder than any. Some sources whispered he had begged Meghan to wait, to hold the line a little longer, but her ultimatum had set the trap, and William had sprung. That night, the palace lights burned late. Legal teams prepared for the transatlantic backlash. Advisors drafted the king's neutral statement, one that spoke of respecting the late queen's wishes while urging family healing. But the true power no longer sat in those words. It sat in the imagery played across the world: William, cold-eyed and unflinching, raising a document that turned a whispered feud into a historical From that moment, the phrase HRH or nothing became a warning rather than a demand. Meghan's supporters raged online, decrying the monarchy's cruelty, while others whispered that the Duchess had overplayed her hand. In the pubs of London, in the halls of Parliament, in the corridors of power, the verdict was the same: the heir had acted, and the crown had survived the shot across. Whether this was victory or Pyrrhic triumph would be decided later. For now, the message was carved in the winter air: the monarchy could bend, But it would not break, not for titles dangled like ransom notes, not for apologies demanded at William had turned a private blackmail into a public reckoning. Meghan had wanted a stage, he had given her a gallows. And in the vault at Windsor, the will lay once more in its place, no longer secret, now eternal. A grandmother's foresight had become a grandson's weapon, and a family that once bled in whispers now bled. The rain did not stop that night, nor did the cameras. The world had witnessed a crown defending itself not with tradition or ceremony, but with a sharp edge. The battle for HRH was over. The war for the soul of the monarchy had just begun.